Hey, Bob Brown again. So, in case you guys haven't figured it out yet, I really hate typing. So, making a video is easier. So Troy, again, one of my kids here comes to practice. He asked another great question. Does, body type, the length of your arm, the size of your hand determine whether you should be a hooker or a top roller? And I've been reading people's answers, and basically it looks like everyone's basically correct. You know, uh, the height and length of your arm can give you an advantage in certain cases, but getting to that advantage is still going to be up to the strength that you've trained. Some people join this sport with really strong arms and not such strong hands, or they've got hands that are really good at gripping, but their wrists maybe aren't so strong. I had a guy one time, he was a painter, and from just going up and down, he had a strong grip and his wrists were strong, knuckles up and down, but his wrist wasn't so great. And so how you come into the sport is going to probably determine how you're going to arm wrestle the first time. Everyone comes in the sport, typically goes into a hook and just tries to go sideways. So here's the thing. If you've got a tall arm and you're going against someone with a shorter arm, from a leverage standpoint against the wrist joint, you have an advantage against that shorter arm's wrist joint. Now, if that shorter arm has the wrist and hand strong enough to turn it into a hook, well, then the leverage just switched to the shorter arm person. The shorter arm person, once in a hook, has a leverage advantage. But the taller arm person, because their ability to gain height against this wrist joint, against this joint, will have an advantage. So generally speaking, I would say tall arm people like to top roll, short arm people like to hook. But that's only because every time you've been in practice, the short arm starts in a hook and then beats you in a hook. Of course, when they start straight, the taller arm cracks the wrist and can't get them into a hook. So the real answer to the question is pull any way where you feel strong, but you should train everywhere. Because let's say you're the guy, you have the taller arm, but you're going against the shorter arm guy who likes to top roll. Like we've talked before, the short arm guy is going to try to go up. The tall arm guy is going to the tall arm guy is going to go up. The short arm guy is going to pull back. And whoever has the strongest hand or strongest wrist in that motion is going to win that battle. But it still doesn't determine what you should be. Someone mentioned Kevin Bongard having an amazing hook with a long arm. That's because he was just really strong in a hook. The fact that he had a long arm, yes, he was giving up leverage once it was in a hook against the short arm, but he just had the strength to pull through. So I don't really think the length of your arm or your hand size determines how you should arm wrestle. I think when you come into the sport, wherever you happen to be strong, are you strong in the hand? Are you strong at knuckles up? Are you strong in the wrist or versus hand? That will probably determine where you're best suited to arm wrestle at that moment in a tournament. But you should absolutely be training your weaknesses. I've always said, train your weaknesses primarily until you think it's your strength, and then train whatever you think your new weakness is. But as far as should you pull in a hook or a top roll when you have a short arm versus when you have a tall arm, I say the answer is no. It's wherever you're strong. If you've got an incredibly strong hand and wrist and not such a strong arm, you still might pull people into a hook to get that leverage once it's in the hook. Of course, same person, strong hand, weak arm, might want to top roll to take the opponent's hand. Okay?
there are leverage advantages to a tall arm and a short arm. But as far as how you use them, what technique you should use, that's going to be determined by what strengths you have when you come into this sport. And then train your weaknesses. And in the long run, you'll be better. I hope that answered it. Have a great day.